race war. Whose team are you on? Black people or white people?
Is there a race war? Did I miss it?
Moments after his arrest at his Harvard office.
The complaint alleges that Dr. Lieber signed a contract with the Chinese university in Wuhan. And was paid up to $50,000 per month, plus up to $158,000 in living expenses.
While most researchers are here to work under good faith, many are working for the Chinese government. Jennifer, do you have anything to say about the charges here? The former Harvard professor was straight-faced walking out of Moakley Federal Courthouse. He was put on administrative leave after he was indicted for allegedly lying about his work with the Chinese government-run program. Prosecutors stressed that China is the #1 threat to research theft.
The challenges facing the United States in human rights are deep-seated. They did not just emerge over the past 4 years, such as Black Lives Matter.
Thank you to so many other communities of color.
He said, look, if you're going to do what you want, I'm going to do what I want, but you're not going to like it.
So far this year, NYPD data shows at least 22 anti-Asian hate crimes, up from 0 reported in the same period last year.
NYPD did update us on some numbers this morning. From January until today, there's been a reported 22 Asian hate crimes so far this year. Comparing that to the same time last year when there was just 0.
You're not going to know that the police officers, and we're going to see if somebody is going to look to harm somebody through hate.
And intensity of violence.
Saying she is responsible for the deaths of her 2 young children.
NYPD did update us on some numbers this morning. From January until today, there's been a reported 22 Asian hate crimes so far this year. Comparing that to the same time last year when there was just 0.
So far this year, there have been 66 possible anti-Asian bias crimes, compared to 12 the same time last year.
Today, we find that there have been nearly 3,800 anti-Asian hate crimes and incidents in just the year alone.
According to the group Stop Asian American Pacific Islander Hate, there have been more than 6,600 incidents from March 2020 to March 2021. Women have been the target nearly 65% of the time.
So when we look at all hate crimes, there's anti-Asian, anti-national origin, where they go back to your country kind of statements and all these horrendous statements.
The man charged is being held as a reason for his release. He'll likely be under electronic monitoring and confined to his home.
One company
And that's all they say about it.
work from home.
How investigators say he allegedly used his position to gather intelligence.
The criminal complaint reads like something out of a movie. Authorities say that 33-year-old suspect was an officer here with the NYPD at the 111th precinct in Bayside for 5 years and had been tracked for 3 of them.
Mind you, ain't mind your damn business. I put my foot up there all the damn morning. You got a problem with that?
You're not going to know that the police officers, and we're going to see if somebody is going to look to harm somebody through hate.
Prosecutors stress that China is the #1 threat to research theft.
You know, I'm a father of a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and you know, for their first understandings of being Asian American to come from this period in time of such hate and intensity of violence.
Chow was charged with 2 counts of murder. Her bail was denied in part because of the nature of the crimes and concerns she could be a flight risk since she is not a U.S. citizen.
Harvard scientist accused of lying about his ties to China is now free.
Anything he had access to, and that means every computer check, every NCIC name trace he ran.
When we look at all hate crimes, there's anti-Asian, anti-national origin, where go back to your country kind of statement.
Meanwhile, the woman in this video, accused of a racist rant against an Asian couple in Manhattan this weekend.
Is that communist China?
Oh, isn't that where you're from? She's been identified as the daughter of the late Senator Patrick Moynihan.
It's all these horrendous statements.
Big trees are falling at CBS, but
and we're looking at that very carefully.
The woman, Brittany Camiso, had come forward as executive assistant number 1.
I worry about them and other young Asian Americans and what they're processing from this moment and this kind of renewed sense of xenophobia and foreignness that hovers over us.
Charlotte Bennett says Cuomo is, quote, a textbook abuser.
Very sweet to me for a year, in the hopes that maybe one day, when he came on to me, I would think we were friends.
watch the hands. He knows what he's doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Governor Cuomo said in a statement on Sunday that he was just being playful.
Good and sad, and I just want to be.
I don't know why we can't just rewrite it. Was it playful?
No.
Rita, you're very good at the lap dances.
So he goes, "You were raped. You were raped. You were raped."
He says he was joking.
I wasn't laughing.
This is a moment that demands a frank and honest assessment about where we stand and, more generally, the safety of women.
Hey.
Honey.
I wasn't laughing.
This would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. And we're looking at that very carefully.
Attacks targeting Asian Americans, totally unacceptable. This is a really simple bill. All it does is it asks the Department of Justice to appoint somebody.
Heil Hitler. Oh, good afternoon, Herr Zeller. Perhaps you've not heard. I'm now the Gauleiter. Heil Hitler.
To review these crimes and to work with state and local law enforcement.
I have just come from the house of Captain Von Trapp. Incidentally, the only one in the neighborhood not flying the flag of the Third Reich since the Anschluss.
And then community advocates to report these crimes.
We make it our business to know everything about everyone.
Who's we? It's because they are very underreported.
All it does is...
Maybe the flag with the black spider on it makes people nervous.
All it does is...
And then community advocates to report these crimes.
Over the last 5 years, there's been a 25% increase in reported hate crimes. A hate crime not only harms the victim, but strikes fear into their entire community, our community. The FBI is committed to combating hate crime.
And the FBI says An Guang also wired money with ties to the Communist Party and to the Chinese military. An Guang did not enter a plea today. He was not required to do so.
To word that a decorated NYPD officer sworn to protect and serve New Yorkers has been accused of being a spy for the Chinese government.
The FBI is stepping up its efforts to counter the shocking surge in attacks on Asian Americans. They've skyrocketed in the past year as some falsely blame Asians for the pandemic. We get more on this from CBS's Jeff Begays.
In New York City, police are investigating a hammer attack on an Asian woman that was caught on surveillance video.
CDC and the World Health Organization warned not to associate the virus with a specific ethnicity, country, or geographic region due to the stigma it causes.
Prosecutors stress that China is the #1 threat to research theft, issuing this FBI wanted poster for Yang King-ye,
who failed to mention on her visa application that she is also a lieutenant with the People's Liberation Army. for trying to smuggle vials of biological material out of the United States to China.
Not only are anti-Asian bias crimes up, but so are arrests.
I mean, a lot of people have called this second pandemic.
The NYPD has arrested 31 people so far this year compared to 12 the same time last year.
Talk to me a little bit about this point person at the DOJ.
Hi， 你好，我係黃警探。你有咩問題都可以同我溝通，我識講廣東話。
You're not going to know that the police officers, and we're going to see if somebody is going to look to harm somebody through hate.
To increase the ability for us to set up reporting structures, set up hotlines around the country.
That strikes fear into their entire community. Our community. The FBI is committed to combating hate crime and seeking justice. If you've been a victim or witness to a hate crime, call 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. Protecting our communities. Together, report hate crimes.
This matters. Get yours inside now.
Hello? Hello?
Allow us to have proper training of law enforcement around this country and elsewhere.
How are you going to respond to people who just say, this is sour grapes?
If they think this is sour grapes, then they don't understand what's going on. Because if we don't look like the community we serve, how can that community trust us?
And this is more broad as well. It kind of gets at hate crimes writ large. So this bill is going to do a number of things that will help build the infrastructure for response.
Or submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. Protecting our communities. Together, report hate crimes.
How about that? You white trash. You white trashy bitch. That's what you are. Here we go again. You think you're the only one that got a phone for all of that? Take your phone and go yourself with it. That's what you do, okay? Fixate on your phone. That's what you do. Yourself with it. That's what you do, okay?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Boone with your New York 1 Minute. New surveillance video this afternoon as police continue to look for the suspect in that hammer attack in the subway last night in Chelsea.
We understand when we're being singled out for one reason and one reason only, and that is the color of our skin.
Prosecutors say he also offered to tell Chinese officials about internal NYPD workings. The Chinese consulate did not respond to several requests for comment, and Guang's arrest raises serious concerns about China's attempts to penetrate U.S. security.
Using, our native tongue, Cantonese.
When we look at all hate crimes, there's anti-Asian, anti-national origin, where they go back to your country kind of statements, and all these horrendous statements.
If two black people killed a police officer, they would instantly become heroes.
Yeah. I just want people to know I was here.
So we can't sort of say, great, that happened, let's move on. I know that people in the black community don't feel that way because many of us still live in fear as we go to the grocery store or worry about walking our dogs. Yeah. People will come up and pet my dogs, but will not look me in the eye. They don't know it's me. That is so telling of how white America views people who are not like them.
Bin Laden was not the first man to bring terror to that section of the city. Yeah. I never forgot that. Neither should you.
Let me tell you something. Bob Marley was considered great because the white man sold his records around the world.
Right.
Martin Luther King is considered great in America because the white man used integration to wipe us out as a people.
We don't exist.
Martin Luther King was about the biggest traitor to black people in modern day history.
And I'll never forget this black man raising his hand and saying,
bitch. Don't you ever talk to a motherfucking pimp like that, bitch. Disrespect a motherfucking man. Man, check your bitch before I stomp her.
And you know, just take that in. I just want all the white people to just take that in. Don't put your stick down. Don't, bitch. I will shove that thing so far down your motherfucking throat. You are lying. I never sold anything out of my apartment ever.
Oh, really?
No, I sell pussy. Because I spent the test.
Or allowing our children to get a license. I mean, just imagine.
But I can't imagine any circumstance that a grown-ass man can't control a 9-year-old girl who is not armed.
I really hope y'all make it.
Actions speak louder than words. God, we have new management in place that sees that too.
We're forcing people to speak our language.
There's just a lot of tension.
We shouldn't be targeted because of people's race or color or language or whatever background they are from.
My name is Jackie Wong, I'm a police officer joining the Asian Task Force.
Attacks targeting Asian Americans, totally unacceptable. This is a really simple bill. All it does is it asks the Department of Justice to appoint somebody to review these crimes and to work with state and local law enforcement and community advocates to report these crimes because they are very underreported.
Over the last 5 years, there's been a 25% increase in reported hate crimes. A hate crime not only harms the victim, but strikes fear into their entire community, our community. The FBI is committed to combating hate crime.
Now, do you find yourself changing your own behavior due to the rise in these hate crimes?
Yes, certainly.
This person is going to really help expedite reviews of these crimes, which we know have historically been held up or had difficulty moving through. Is that the way to address what, I mean, a lot of people have called this second pandemic, this second crisis that the community's been dealing with?
You know, the problem has been in large part just, you know, the issues about hate crimes has often just been you know, number 4, 5, or 6 on a priority list, never quite was able to get the kind of attention and prioritization that it needed. But this bill also does other aspects where it's going to increase the ability for us to set up reporting structures, set up hotlines around the country, allow us to have proper training of law enforcement around this country and elsewhere for us to be able to explain and show and familiarize people with the kind of challenges that the Asian American community is facing. And this is more broad as well. It kind of gets at hate crimes writ large. So this bill is going to do a number of things that will help build the infrastructure for a response.
In many cases, the DA's reluctance to file hate crime charges has riled the Asian American community.
We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.